Okay, I would never think of that. Do they do like that?
Is this really it?
It's what?
Is this our group this morning?
What are we talking about today? Okay, so.
Careful.
Yep.
We're supposed to talk about conservation easements. That's what it says on the schedule that we made.
Nobody's here.
But Shauna and I wanted to talk about our strategic planning session coming up. She is not feeling 100% today, so she's staying home, may or may not join the Zoom.
Sarah, is there a meeting in place of the third week of September? Or is
You
that an
know,
extra one?
We didn't talk about that as of right now. I wasn't planning on using it to replace the meeting, but
Mhm.
let's see, that would put it the day after, wouldn't it? What's the calendar say?
Well, we're the meeting's what, the 22nd, so it'll be the 21st.
21st would be our meeting.
Yeah, I was just wondering.
Thank you.
Yeah, please be careful. I'm sorry about all the cords.
Yeah.
So we're not gonna talk about the form-based code?
No, that wasn't the plan.
What was the plan?
Conservation easements, PDR, stuff like that. Doug and I need to sit down between the two of us and talk about it. Because, you know, we don't have our own official programs for conservation easements, but we are about to have an easement that's really important. So we
Is
do
that the
have a
one
couple
on,
more.
Pear Street Extension?
No, we are fast approaching closing for the town's first PDR where we will hold the easement on the farmland. Closing should probably take place early fall, you know, within weeks, maybe a month or so. Hello, Joyce,
Hey, Joyce.
if she can hear.
She's muted.
Yeah.
Oh, she's muted.
Is there a reason why the town couldn't just subcontract that to the Finger Lakes Land Trust for a lump sum?
Joyce, can you hear us okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. I wasn't connecting, so I'm here
Okay.
now.
We have kind of a light group this morning. Well, we've got 1, 2, 6 of us. I guess that's not so light, but I don't believe Doug will be able to join us. I think he got caught up in another meeting that was planned late last week. And I was just telling the others, Shauna, I don't think will be joining us. She's not feeling 100% today. She's at home. If she does join, it'll be via Zoom, but we're not going to wait for her. The plan for today is to talk a little bit about conservation easements, but we also should probably talk about the strategic planning session that Shauna and Doug and I have been putting the details together for, the one on the 22nd. But Joyce, just as you were joining, Tom was asking about the Purdy PDR that we're working on. I'll let you guys know we're getting really close to closing on that.
Oh, good.
The state has released our final payment,
Oh,
and that should come in about 4 weeks, maybe 3 weeks from now. So we're planning closing right now, so that should be in place and complete, you know, well before Christmas. I mean, I'm assuming we will actually have closing maybe in October or November. I don't know how long it takes to plan these sorts of things, but our attorney for the project is putting the plans in motion right now.
What road is that on?
They are on Sand Hill Road
Oh, right. Mhm.
and they border Ladding.
Okay, right.
Yeah, they're way up in the
Yeah.
corner.
Mhm.
And I think, I mean, we've talked about this before, but this is like the other programs or other farms we have that are protected in the town, like the Weifels Farm, Catalpa Acres, Brocklebanks.
Which Purdy is it?
This is Keith and Linda.
Okay,
Um,
that's right, wrong.
So it's the same program through the state. The difference with this one is that instead of the Finger Lakes Land Trust applying to the state for the easement, we did.
Mhm.
So we will hold the easement after closing. So it'll become our responsibility to monitor it annually and protect it if need be down the road, if ever that were the case.
Does Finger Lakes Land Trust monitor annually? I thought they did that biannually. Is that,
The stuff we have in place is set up for annually. I don't know what the Finger Lakes Land Trust does, but the land trust holds the easement off of Middle Cheshire Road near the city's property, and they monitor that annually for the town.
well, they do?
I'm not
Okay.
sure what they do on their farmland easements on the PDR properties. I don't know. But I know they monitor that easement for us annually. But Tom was asking, why don't we turn that over to the land trust? I think initially it's because we asked for it. We applied willingly, knowing that we were going to hold the easement. We did have a conversation with the land trust about future plans with PDRs, including this one. You know, do we want to continue to try and do this on our own? Will we want to? We don't know. We've never done it before. You know, we know what an easement is. We know the basics that goes into it, but I think if for some reason the town board decided that the town should not hold this easement, we could talk to the land trust about it, but that hasn't
That's their
happened.
business. That's why I mentioned it. And I'm trying to think of the term, but when they accept, the land trust accepts a conservation easements, it's usually with a downstroke of some sort to perpetually monitor.
Yeah, I don't know what that would look like,
It's an endowment of sorts.
because they'd be taking on a financial responsibility.
Right.
Yes, but I don't,
You'd be unloading that responsibility from the town, who's really not in the business.
if that were to happen, we would have nothing to do with it anymore, except for the fact that it would be in the town.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the plan originally, and as of today, it's still not.
I think that this is probably a good exercise for the town to get into, being the circumstances for this one, because if we are considering in a easement team, looking at other easements, which Finger Lakes Land Trust may not be interested in, at least we'll kind of have a idea of what it will take for the town to hold easements in other, on other properties. I know that we have easements with, like we did with Fox Ridge and whatever, that didn't work out so well, so that was changed. But I mean, I think it's just a good idea that we try it and see. It's not like it's a big handicap right now for just one property, but it might give us some information as we move forward. Hopefully that the town will get interested in holding easements in the town itself, on other properties.
Yeah, I think, Joyce, I think you hit the nail on the head. The Finger Lakes Land Trust has their own, set of criteria for obtaining easements on properties that they deem to be valuable. And while oftentimes they are the same properties that we think are valuable, sometimes they're not. So we do need to decide, well, yeah, are those properties worth, saving? Are there programs we could have on our own or develop to make that possible? So, and we would hold those if we did that way too.
Yeah.
So how, does there an amount budgeted for that, for monitoring that particular piece of property?
We don't have one in the current budget that's specific for monitoring the Purdy easement, but I can't remember, did we start anything like that for next year, or is it just part of our regular legal funds and stuff like that? We're talking about the Purdy easement.
No, there's
Specific.
specific conservation line in both the
Okay.
21 and 22 budget.
Okay. I was just talking.
Sarah,
Sorry, what?
how many acres is that?
It's about 185 acres.
Okay.
I was bringing them up to speed on the fact that we actually get to plan closing now for that, which is really exciting. I can't remember what I was going to say next, but that's where we are with that one. And, oh, and just in general, yeah, so I think I already said this, but Doug and I are starting conversations about what you were talking about, Joyce. What would conservation easements look like in the future for the town if we do that? How would we do it? We don't have like a
Yeah, we
official program in place, but you know, there's more than just working with outside funding opportunities. There's more than just PDRs. There's also a similar program. I mean, I guess it's still a PDR, but there's a similar program to this that the federal government does. The USDA offers a program similar to the state's program with PDRs. It works similarly. The payout to the landowner is less. The state program is 75% of the value of the development rights that goes into the project, but the state's program is 50%. So there's still a financial incentive. Sorry, yes, thank you. Still a financial incentive, but it's smaller. But and then there's been talk about a program between the Land Trust Alliance, I think is the group. It's a national group, and the DEC about starting a program similar to the farmland protection program, but this would be more for forests and other habitat, not necessarily farming. I don't think that started yet. I heard about it 2 years ago from the Finger Lakes Land Trust. They told me that it was something was supposed to be coming. I asked earlier this year, I reached out to them again because I couldn't find anything on it. And he said he hadn't heard anything yet either. So I don't know if that program's going to happen. I don't know when, and I don't know what it's going to look like. If there's a financial incentive for the landowner, I don't know how much it would be, but it's kind of exciting if it were to happen because it would open up other types of properties to be eligible for protection.
What happened with Dennis Money's property? Was that considered ag or not?
No,
No, so that kicked him out of.
I mean, in a way, but so the state changed their farmland protection program this year. They changed the criteria, they changed the rules. And the criteria is really the biggest change that knocks some of the properties we previously thought would be eligible. It just knocks them right out of eligibility. It's stricter standards. A big change is that the application process used to be competitive. Now it's not. Now it's, if you meet these standards and this list of criteria, you can receive an award, and everyone who meets it is equally able to receive the award. It's the first come, first serve until the money runs out.
Interesting.
So this is the first easement the town has
This-
committed to.
Yeah, this is the first farmland protection grant from the state that we are going to hold the easement for. Not the first one in the town, but just the first one that we will hold the easement for.
Just as a thought, in listening to this, after we see, what's involved in taking care of this easement or something, that could be something added to the comprehensive plan. I'm just talking out loud. I don't know what all the dynamics are, but.
And well, it is an action step in under the agricultural goal to
Okay.
continue to pursue these. And it's also listed as a recommended action step in the ag enhancement plan that we have to continue to pursue these. I think it also states in there to keep looking for other programs that'll work. So, I think we will always continue to do this. But, and it is a risk for the town to hold the easement, but when we go through the application process with the landowners, before we even submit it to the state, we make sure that the people we're working with know what they're asking for. We make sure they know what it's going to mean, that, this means your land will be protected from development forever. You can't sell it to a developer who has the intention of building a bunch of houses on it, because once they buy it, they're going to be sorely disappointed. You can't do that yourself either. You have to agree that this is going to be farmland forever, and you have to farm it. You can't just stop and not ever do anything with it ever again. The state wouldn't like that very much. They expect it to be an active farm, not just farmland. So it's not likely that with a family like the Purdy's, we would have a problem. And it probably wouldn't be likely with a future family down the road, because we kind of weed out the people who don't have a serious interest in the beginning. You know, we're not going to work with someone who doesn't seem like they really want it.
It's normally that you run into adjoining landowners that have issues. I mean, we have
Yeah.
many other conservation easements in the town of Canandaigua.
Yeah.
We've learned a lot over the last 10 years relative to conservation easements, and we've changed a lot of the way that we go about it. We have examples of conservation easements that have been a failure, and they just are worthless. People build sheds or swimming pools or whatever else on them,
Right.
and they're part of their property, versus now we have, the town code actually requires that a conservation easement be on a separate piece of property. So
Yeah.
for instance, the Piercebrook subdivision, the new Morel one, it will have a conservation easement on all that open space, but be on its own separate parcel. And so then it's easier to enforce the boundaries that's owned by the HOA, and then the town holds the easement on it. So we have many of those, and even with some of the town land where people are encroaching on the land, and code enforcement regularly handles those matters. We document those and that sort of thing, but you know, like the Wyfels PDR is another one that we're dealing with right now, where there's, you know, questions regarding the legal aspect of the easement and whether or not somebody has a right of way across the actual area of the farmland there. So there's those types of things usually come up though from the adjoining landowners more so than the farming operation.
Conservation easements are not just farmland.
Right.
Right.
You understand, the PDR is focused on just farmland.
That program is, yes, but yeah, like Doug said, there's a lot of other types of easements.
Mhm.
Right.
And, you know, and we talked about if in the future, you know, is the town interested in pursuing these on our own? You know, are we going to look for others besides farmland? And is that something that, you know, the town wants to do to, I don't know if you were in yet, Doug, but like, for example, when there's property that the town might think is worth saving, but it may not be on the Finger Lakes Land Trust's list, you know, is that something we want to look into and have a program in place to develop, like you and I were talking about? But those programs aren't in place yet. They're just
So this is
ideas.
like a test run.
With this,
Yeah.
kind of, except for the program is in place. It's
I
through the
guess I
state.
understand.
There's rules. We don't, you know, we know what's expected.
But I think one of the things I don't know if you talked about strategic planning already. or
Not
but
yet,
that's one of
no.
The things, you know, this and there's other issues, you know, it'll be interesting to see as an outcome of the strategic planning, where that ranks in terms of priority for everybody who participates in the strategic planning session, because you know, I think it's an area where we could definitely focus some attention and everything, but again, looking for the priorities from the group when we do that strategic planning session on what it is that we should be working on. Because realistically, I mean, you know, 3, 5 tops priorities in any given year for these big projects like this. But conservation is definitely one we've talked about a long time, and we definitely you know, should be paying attention to it, but whether or not it comes to the priority list, you know, that'll be the interesting outcome of the 22nd.
Yeah, well, that's a good segue for that. I think everybody here received the email I sent out, I think on Thursday, reminding everybody of the event on the 22nd. Shauna and I have met several times to talk about how that evening will happen. I think it'll be fun. You know, we want it to be interactive. We have no plans to just have her stand up and talk to everybody. There, you know, we're going to have work for everybody to do to help, because that's the point of strategic planning, right?
So the Parks and Rec meeting is scheduled for the same time. How are you handling that?
I'm not. That's with Lindsay and Mark.
You know, we met last week. Mark told me that he was going to encourage the Parks and Rec committee members to participate in the strategic planning.
Yeah,
committee.
and I'm going to,
Yeah, and then
but there are
Maybe
some
that
Parks
would
and
be-
Rec issues that are
Yep.
Well, he kind of indicated either holding a special meeting or just waiting until October, is what he told me on Thursday.
I mean, I'm aware it's the same night, but I don't know.
I know,
It's
like it's busy.
it's hard to plan these meetings. And if something else has to get bumped, then it
absolutely
has to get bumped, but I think it'll be a fun night. We are trying to get a food truck to come to feed everybody. Some people who are fed are happier. It should be good. Shauna's really putting a lot of thought into it and a lot of effort, so I know the activities will be good, and we think the way we're setting it up will really get everybody's ideas out. You know, we're not gonna just do one long table like we did before. We're gonna have little tables, break everybody into groups, and I think it'll be good.
Mhm.
Obviously, it'll be based on the comp plan with the goals and the action steps in the new one. But yeah, so stay tuned. We're gonna send out another email it's already Tuesday, tomorrow, so not the next day. And then next Wednesday too. So we're gonna have an email go out every week right up until the night to try and keep everybody thinking about it. Might be a homework assignment.
So what materials should we be reviewing for this meeting? We did a lot of work on.
Yeah, so for everybody coming, last week I sent out the link to the updated comp plan. The new version is on the website. It's there to review. This week, I think we are so since there's 10 goals, I think we're gonna share the first 5. Well, not first, there's no order, right? Share 5 this week and 5 next week. We're not going to try and go through the comp plan or anything at the meeting, just focusing on do you remember with the plan on the action steps, they were listed as a priority or secondary or something?
Right.
The focus on the 22nd will be on the priority action steps. Since so many groups decided that those were priorities, we didn't think it was necessary to look at the other ones at that strategic planning meeting. So that'll be what the focus is. And we'll talk about that in the email that goes out this Wednesday. Obviously there'll be directions the night of, but we're gonna try and, I felt like sending out these emails every week leading up to it will keep people thinking about it, hopefully, so that by the time we show up, everybody already kind of has an idea of what we're gonna be working on that evening. I'm trying to keep it simple, but also fun. Don't want to just have everybody show up and sit at a table and be bored, so. As far as CIC, I don't think this group necessarily has any more work to do than the other groups, but we are gonna make sure that every table has a CIC member at it and split people up so that there's people at each table who were involved in the process. So that if there's other people who show up who weren't involved, and there will be, or weren't involved as heavily, we won't
They
have a
can
whole
serve-
table of people who weren't involved,
They can serve the food.
Huh? No, that's why we want to do a food truck. No one has to serve the food.
So did we have to reply that we'll be there, yes or no, or
We'd like to know who's coming. Yes,
no?
that's how we'll set up the
I don't
tables.
know if I replied. I'll be there.
I think you did. I sent out a calendar invite so people wouldn't necessarily
Okay,
have to send an
yeah,
email.
then I did.
If you hit the button that says accept,
Yeah, it's on my.
I'll
calendar.
know that you're coming anyway.
I forgot about that.
Any other questions about that night or the process, or do you guys have any suggestions? I know I haven't given like all the details yet, but generally
Did you-
speaking,
Tell everybody that they're going to get some kind of CE credits so they show up.
no, did we talk about that yet? And they can't, I guess we would have to decide how many hours they get. I'm not sure.
Because in the past, we haven't had real great attendance other than the same old faces.
Yeah, well, I mean, we are expecting the same old faces to come because they are the board and committee members, so, that can't really be helped, but I have gotten a couple other people saying they will come because we did extend the invitation to all the project teams too.
Good.
So a couple people from the local history team want to come. We might get a couple ag committee members to come. I'm expecting hopefully as many board members who can, planning board, zoning board. We've got a couple who said they can come already from the zoning board, maybe 3 or 4, which is pretty good. And several of the planning board members, obviously town board members. But yeah, I'm hoping at least a couple people from each of the other committees and project teams will come, because then they can go back and share that with their groups.
Do you see this as being a one meeting thing?
Well, as of right now, only one meeting is planned.
One?
Yes,
It's gonna be challenging.
it is.
Yeah,
But I'm not sure you could get people to come to a second meeting. There's so much grumbling based on one meeting already.
It's gonna be challenging.
Because-
for sure.
Typically, in the first meeting, you gather ideas, I guess is what it is. You know, there's things like surveys, et cetera, which of course we did with the.
I was just gonna
master
say,
plan,
well, the comp plan is the first part. It's
Oh.
done. We don't have to meet about the plan anymore. Now we just need to meet about implementing it.
And the other thing that's different versus when we originally did this with the CIC is they're already grouped, right, in terms of
Yeah.
priorities.
Yeah.
Right.
In terms of the lead entities, all those types of things, that part's done. Did we already do short-term, intermediate, long-term? I can't remember.
So kind of, on the action steps, if you'll remember, there was a column that said, I don't know what it said, but it was basically whether it's a priority or not.
Yeah.
And I think the wording that, I guess Eric is the one who set it up that way. It said priority, secondary,
Mhm.
or ongoing or something.
Primary, secondary,
you.
periodic.
or you got it.
Yeah.
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 So,
Yeah, primary and secondary.
right. So part of that's already done also.
Yeah, and this meeting is purposefully only looking at the top items of primary. We aren't talking about the ones that aren't primary, because if everybody decided those were the most important, then that's
So
what
it
we'll
would
look
behoove
at
us
first.
to go over the priority goals.
Yeah. But we're gonna talk about that in the upcoming emails.
Any other homework?
You'll find out. Yes, on Wednesday, I'm sending an email that's going to say, here are 5 of the goals.
Mhm.
There's 10, right? So here's 5. Here's the list of primary goals in these 5. Look at them, read about them, look at the action steps, start developing ideas. Next Wednesday, similar email with 5 more goals and all the primary action steps. And then the following Wednesday is the 22nd,
So you're telling us we gotta read our emails.
yes, I'm not calling anyone. I'm emailing only.
Giving you a hard time.
I know.
Check your spam.
I will say that I think there's 25 RSVPs. Positive
That's
RSVPs.
good.
Really?
Yes, it includes staff and
Well,
everything,
that's
but
fine. They're invited.
so decent.
Mhm.
And we're gonna be really strict with times that night. We have a schedule, we're gonna have a timer.
Mhm.
I think it'll be fine. I think it'll work out.
I shouldn't ask this question. Are the teams going to be decided before you got there? or you
Yes, there will be assigned seating.
know? Okay.
Mhm.
That's what I meant when I said we're not just gonna let this happen randomly.
Mhm.
If there's however many, say there's 5 tables of 5,
Mhm.
each table is gonna be purposeful. We wanna make sure there's someone at the table who was involved in the process, who understands how this started and how it happened. And also, if there's people who weren't, we're gonna spread them out, make sure they're not all at the same table. We don't want all the planning board members to sit next to each other. We don't want all the, zoning board members to sit next to each other and town board and so forth. Everybody's getting split up because I think that'll make for better conversation. So that way none of the tables are left confused or not understanding the process, or that we don't have a powerhouse table that makes all the decisions.
Yeah.
So. Does anyone else have any questions about it? I don't know which food truck is coming, so I can't answer that one.
If we'll-
I don't know which food truck is coming
Oh,
to
food
feed
truck.
us. I don't have that answer yet. But- Any other questions about that, about the 22nd?
The other group that was invited to that is the LDC board.
Yes.
And I think there's some of them.
Thank you,
also,
yes.
so some of that-
You did invite them.
Yes. Actually, I asked Matt to send the invitation, yeah, instead of me, because we have been having issues with spam, with our emails going in spam, but he shared the email that he sent to them, so he did invite them. I haven't heard from any of them except for one person, I think, but
So is everyone who's running in the election invited?
I don't know.
It's open to the public, so. anybody.
So it's up to them.
We need name tags.
Yep.
For that event.
We're gonna have them.
Awesome.
I have hello, my name is
Oh, my name
stickers.
is. Perfect.
Going back to LDC, have you been pleased with how that's evolving?
So there's, segue here for a second,
That's fine.
there's opportunity for improvement. Obviously, it's taking a little longer to get up and going than what we'd like, but I think that this next term will be the make or break for the LDC. The LDC, there's a number of initiatives that they're doing for the town specifically right now. The LDC is completely funding wayfindage initiative that includes uptown, downtown, and the lakefront. The LDC is completely funding this is a brand new thing this year. The state has made an opportunity for the DRI, Downtown Revitalization Initiative, which traditionally you think of as downtown. But this year, there's one community that's going to be selected in the state of New York to receive, or in each region, I'm sorry, they can compete for a $20 million award, and the LDC is making that application for uptown, downtown, and the lakefront. It's a shared initiative on behalf of our community, so.
A lump sum of 20 million? What the hell would we do with it?
So it's competitive.
It's
a lot of money.
very competitive, but
Yeah.
Tom, you would be amazed. I put together a list of just needs relative primarily to infrastructure in uptown, and my list totals almost 40 million.
Wouldn't that be wonderful?
So,
It would.
I mean, it would be a huge shot in the arm. So the thing that I said repeatedly now, many times in the last couple of weeks, form-based code is going to get us to where we want to go with uptown. But a shot in the arm of an economic initiative like this would help speed it up faster.
Yeah.
Wow.
Definitely.
Wow.
That's big money.
Yeah,
So when is it due and
the application's due next week.
it'll be decided by?
Well, it's, we have a new governor, so based on the former
Really?
governor's
We-
timelines, I have to kind of guess that, a lot of times it would happen around Thanksgiving is when he would make
That
the
quickly, this
announcement.
year you're talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's what I was wondering.
Well, that would be the finalist is what they do. And then you have to go compete as a finalist for each region and make your case. That in the past has happened late year, beginning of the next year type thing. So I'm assuming that she's going to keep a similar timeline. That's why I said it like that, because I don't know, I'm just kind of basing on, but the deadline is definitely next Wednesday, so a week from tomorrow. So there's a number of projects, going back to your question, Tom, there's a number of things that are coming up that have been in the pipeline for a while. That's the thing about economic development, it does take a while. The Canandaigua Beverage Trail Initiative is another one that is inclusive of all beverages, not just beer, not just wine. And that allows us to include things like Tuition Distillery in the town of Canandaigua, that allows us to include even milk for that matter. That's why we specifically chose the name Beverage Trail, so that we could highlight all these different things that are produced in our community. So
Fruit juices.
absolutely anything, right? Star Cider is definitely part of that,
Yeah.
obviously. So there's a number of things. Yes, it would have been Wheels of government turn slow, right? So,
Yeah.
But there's some good things coming.
I've thought that was a great idea because, you know, it's already started and why not encourage the use of this, especially from tourists, especially with the lake house and bringing in people from, you know, on any day. I have this thing where I like count steps and stuff like that. Well, when I go on the city pier every day, I count out-of-state license plates. And typically during the summer, there's anywhere from 15 to 20 daily. And this, I've been doing this for years because it's my mind is numbers. And this is phenomenal. It's amazing because it's way more than ever before.
You know, it's funny you said that. Sunday, I'm sorry, sir, I'm gonna derail the
That's
conversation
fine.
here for a second. Sunday morning, we went to Mass and we went to Ray's Restaurant. Tom, I know you go to Ray's a lot. We went into Ray's, we had to wait for a table, the place was packed.
Mhm.
And I said to my wife, I don't know a single person in this. It's the first time I think I've ever been to Ray's and not known anyone. I knew nobody. And I sat down, and we sat down and we got seated, and the table next to us was asking the waitress questions because they said they had just moved to Canandaigua. And I'm like, I wonder how many other people in here, you know,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
And well, and you're like me, you talk to pretty much everybody,
Right.
and I do too, and I'm amazed, although I pretty much would rather hang out in bars than Ray's, but I mean, I met one couple who just moved here from England,
Mhm.
and I mean, and they're telling me about the Canandaigua
Yeah,
beverage
yeah.
trail. I mean, because this was in a brewery, and they have gone to all these different places. They've only been here for a couple of months.
That's
So,
great.
you know, it's a draw, and I am glad that the LDC is choosing to support things that are already in place and can be enhanced.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because that's a good way to start doing good in the community.
Sunday, we took a drive, we wanted to go get some taco. Took a drive to Star Cider, couldn't get in. And the place was just jammed. It was amazing.
Was that a concert time or not?
No,
No, they had like a two-piece group in the back.
Okay, but
In
it
the
wasn't a
tent,
CMAC event.
No,
No.
just busy.
That's wonderful.
Oh, we were astounded.
Those places have certainly suffered over the last.
They got a
year plus.
grant from my county committee, and it was an ag-related grant. And I mean, they started out in a garage, operating in a garage. And it's just amazing where they've gone.
They have orchards over east of here somewhere,
Yeah,
don't they?
yeah.
I feel like I've driven by them.
Yeah, because it's all local.
Yeah.
That was the requirement for the money that they received.
but that was another initiative, you know, go back to the comp plan and the economic work that we do and stuff. I mean, we went out and got that. I mean, I said that was actually not going to be located there. And I was sitting in a meeting at FLCC in a conference room and they said, how about building a new facility adjacent to the school? Because the big thing is they wanted to tie in with the school and they were being pushed to look at Geneva. And I said, what about building right here? And when I mentioned the name of the landowner, everybody hemmed and hawed in the conference room. And I said, let me take care of that part. And so you know, we were able to do that. But there's a number of those types of things that are really kind of, I feel like they're working through the pipeline. The form-based code, I've said this repeatedly, that is a game changer for Uptown. There is so much interest. We're getting so much. I know we had a fantastic conversation a couple of weeks ago with Ryan Wallace. I've had even more conversations about it since then, initiatives that are coming. Even Canandaigua Crossing, I don't know if anybody's seen a look of that, that building, but the new building to be constructed next to Tom Walls. I think that's gonna be one of the coolest buildings in the town of Canandaigua for right now, anyway, so the next one gets built. That has open second floor outdoor dining that's covered, overlooking Uptown, and you're a walking distance over to Blue Heron Park. And you'll actually have a view of Blue Heron Park from up there, so, you know,
You have to get a pedestrian walkway over.
We have crosswalks.
Yes.
I, in the time that I'm not really doing anything, I have been looking up affordable housing plans. And interestingly, form-based code is attached to pretty much every one of them. So I have notes on form-based code, and it's really interesting that more people don't know about this, for one thing, because the crux of it is it's a community builder, and we need to pay attention to communities, or we're not going to have places to live for everyone. We're going to have places to live for the Wegmans and the Sands and the Policinis, but we're not going to have places to live for the Reynolds and the Parkhursts and even you. We're just not going to have them if we don't pay attention to this form-based code. And so I encourage all of you to show up at the town board meeting
Thank you. That was
next week,
the
2 weeks.
September 20th, please, and I'm gonna reach out
Yeah.
to some other. Can you pull up under the M drive and just share this real quick? If you don't, I'm sorry, if you have something else you need to.
No, it was easements and strategic planning. So this is
Okay, so
perfect.
if you go to the M drive and then go to the town board, and then the agenda is September 20th, and then my report, and then pull up the census thing. I'm gonna attach to my report. I did a little presentation. I'm just gonna attach to my town board.
For the
report
upcoming meeting?
For the September meeting, yeah, so then under my report. I can't see it from back here.
I can't.
Walk up there. The form-based code is going to be a game changer for a whole variety of reasons, but it's also going to be interesting for
This
the
one?
town of Canandaigua, the top one, census information. Then if you want to share this, so everybody on the Zoom call can also see us. So I put this together. This will be attached to my report for the next town board meeting. But here's some of the latest data from the 2020 census. Now, first and foremost, there's 3 tracks in the town of Canandaigua. You have the lower track here, which is this area, basically, I'm saying calling south of 5 and 20. Then you have the northwest quadrant, north of 5 and 20, west of 332, and then the eastern quadrant, which would be east of 332, and then going down just a little bit south of 5 and 20. But then if you can just go to the next slide. One of the things that I think is unfortunate is I'm 100% confident that our number is wrong. They're estimating our population at 11,109. The census in 2010 was 10,500, and I believe we've constructed over 1,000 single-family residential homes since then. I'm going to see if there's a way that we can combat that a little bit, but unfortunately, that is the new number that's out, the 11,109. Now, interestingly enough, 5,000 people south of 5 and 20. You can see the 2 categories there north of 5 and 20. It's almost the same number. Go to the next. I don't know if we're seeing the whole screen or
The
not.
former census, did it have it segmented in those
Yes.
3 before?
Yeah, it did.
Because I'm guessing most of the growth was in that southern corridor or not.
No,
No,
it's uptown.
northern?
It's northern. So here's your percentages: 48% north of 5 and 20, 51% of our population is south of 5 and 20, basically. So the town is pretty evenly split. And I know a lot of people, and it's always think the town of Canandaigua, exactly what you just said, Tom. A lot of people think west side of Canandaigua Lake, that's the town of Canandaigua, but there's, quite a chunk north. If you can go to the next page. The next, okay, so then this, and there's some interesting data when you kind of dig into this in terms of the population, the different tracks and who's what. This track here, percentage age 18 and over, 83%. The number of persons you can see there is 21%. Can you go to the next slide? There's a couple of things I want to show you here. This is this track over here. The percentage 18 and over, 75%. That northwest quadrant is our youngest portion of the town of Canandaigua. That would be the area, that's actually the area where I live. That's why the percentage is lowest here. That's the
Kids.
That's where the youngsters are.
So, yeah, go to the next slide here. And then this track here, south of 5 and 20, that is our oldest track in terms of population. That's where those individuals, if you go to the next slide here. So this was interesting to me, and I did this little graphic, and Karen, this is something I want you guys to take a look at in Parks and Rec. So I did two things. I looked at those numbers that I just had there from the census data, and I looked at, okay, where's our people 17 and younger? 55% of them are north of 5 and 20, yet that's the area where we only have really 2 real parks. And we've been concentrating on parks south of 5 and 20, but that's not where the young people live. So again, something for us to look at. Now, we do have Outhouse, obviously, Motion Junction in that area, and we have Blue Heron Park, and we've been this last 2 years, we've been paying attention to that. But when we're talking about the demands, and it's no wonder we're seeing such an incredible use of Outhouse Park. That's because 55% of our population, 17 and under in the town of Canandaigua lives in that area. So I think there might be one more slide. Oh, and this just looks at the highest density. So the lowest density is the area south of 5 and 20. The highest density is actually the area east of 332. That would give you a lot of uptown. That would give you County Road 28. That would give you Paddleford Apartments, Trolley Station, all that stuff. And then the middle one is the other density there. So I just share that with you real quick. I'm gonna attach that to my report. The town board, I don't think it's even seen that yet, but it was just interesting specifically about that park one.
What accounts for the numbers not agreeing with what you would have expected? Are people not returning the census?
So I looked at, there's actually a way I could look at the response rates. The highest percentage of response rate was actually that northwest quadrant. The lowest percentage of response rate was the area south of 5 and 20.
Really?
Yes.
I don't know, I got, for some reason, I got a number of requests to the same address. And I sent back and said, I've already responded and so on. So what I'm getting at is the census people were persistent. I got at least.
They actually were based here. They actually did all their trainings in this room. I thought it was going to help us. That's one of the reasons why I said, hey, let's try to offer space for them to do that. But the thing that none of us could have predicted, right, is COVID. Keep in mind, COVID happened in March, right? That was the height of when they were doing a lot of
So
this
people
stuff.
would have been home, right?
Yes. But then I think they relied on mail, truthfully. And then the other thing is, keep in mind, as a result of COVID, think about late last year and the exodus out of the cities into the suburbs. I mean, I even just saw a story on CBS on Saturday or Sunday. They were talking about the mass exodus to the suburbs. None of that's going to be reflected in the census information, unfortunately. So.
I think because maybe one of the dilemmas, we all get mail that's disguised as some kind of an official survey or government looking that you throw out without even opening. Official survey or some bogus title like that. So maybe the census mailing just got tossed and.
But people knew it was coming.
I also know actually many people in the 30 to 40, maybe 50 age range that thought it was stupid and threw them out.
I didn't even wait for mine to come in the mail. I went
No, I
online
didn't
and
either.
filled it
I
out
did
as soon as I
online.
knew I could.
I'm one person. though.
Victor and Farmington both had a much better response rate than the town of Canandaigua did, unfortunately. So that's really gonna, because that's numbers.
Those
That's
are young
money.
families too, aren't they?
That's money for the town of
Yeah.
Canandaigua too. Keep in mind, the census, the
Right.
population factors into the amount that we get for sales
That's
tax.
right. Yeah.
It factors into our weighted vote at the Ontario County Board of
Yeah.
Supervisors. It factors into a number of things. So it's unfortunate. The other thing that we saw when some of the census numbers I was looking at is Victor and Farmington showed increase of diversity, but so did the town of Canandaigua also. An increase in an increase in what I would say non-Caucasian, traditional, there was an increase in all the other categories. Every other category was an increase, and there was a decrease actually in that category. So, yeah, more diversity is definitely what I would say.
That's good.
But you're seeing that in really, this is where you start to drill down on the numbers. You really start to see that in those quadrants, believe it or not, north of 5 and 20. It's almost like I can almost see it happening where it's gonna have a different feel south of 5 and 20 than a
Oh,
different feel north of
absolutely.
5 and 20.
Absolutely.
It's, even though it's one town,
Mhm.
you've got different community character in
Oh,
those
yeah.
two portions of the town.
I think that's cool.
Yeah.
That's great.
There's nothing wrong with that. It makes us very unique, but we need to be mindful of it.
And they, yeah, they really have different needs
Mhm.
in the northern section of the town, different needs. And the younger population, I believe, too.
Which takes us back to Uptown. I think that's why that's, really just, there's such an opportunity with it. Right?
Yeah.
As we get more and more interest in that.
Yeah, that's really
It's
an
exciting.
exciting project.
Very.
But the form-based code is critical for Uptown.
Yes.
You're not gonna have Uptown
Right.
if the town board doesn't approve that.
Correct, absolutely.
I think that's just a matter of time, isn't it?
I hope so. I mean, I know that we've had at least one or two people have voiced objection to it, not town board members, residents, because we sent out notices about the resurveying. One lady clearly doesn't understand based on the message that
No.
she left for me.
I don't think so either.
But, it's gonna be important that everybody speak out. Karen, I know we talked about this at the affordable housing, but they would also transcend to economic development, even this group, everybody please, speak up about form-based code and where how you feel that that's an important aspect for the future of the community.
Three, four, 3 pages of notes.
Good. That's great.
Form-based code, but I just want to briefly mention about affordable housing. I'm going to not have a meeting this month because I think the strategic planning session would provide some critical information.
Should we send a special email to our affordable housing team members?
I'm sorry.
Should we send a special email to the affordable housing team
Yeah,
members
I'll
about
let you know.
that?
I'll let you know, because, and the passage of the form-based code is important for that meeting. And the resolution I have, I'm going to tell them that it's too soon to have this resolution, because the more I read about affordable housing, and I have taken a lot of the stuff I've read, and I have a 10-step plan that I'd like to put together and run by you and Matt Horn. But this is a critical part of the funding and financing part of it. And it's whether they like it or not, it's a critical part. And we're going to have a need for this, but we need to move further into the planning stage for what this team is going to do.
When you say they, who are you talking about? Town board?
Because it includes, it's a resolution from the OCIDA and the OCEDC, and the EDC is okay because they don't have this thing called pilots or tax credits and stuff like that.
Again, it's in our comprehensive plan too.
And it is, I realize that, but see, this just puts it right in front of them. I agree with Doug about that. They're just gonna focus on the center paragraph. So I'm going to put that off for a while and until we can add it as an adjunct to a plan. Is that the right thing to be doing?
That makes sense.
There's certainly an awareness now, how the implementation's the tough
Well,
part.
and actually, that's one of the top things on the plan is educating the public.
Mhm.
So,
I apologize, you guys. I have to run at 10 o'clock for a meeting at Motion Junction, so.
Okay.
Mhm.
We just 30 seconds. Karen brought up the strategic planning meeting is the day after the next scheduled CIC meeting. There's a discussion, maybe we skip the CIC meeting or still have it. Do you have an opinion on that either way?
No, or maybe you want to wait and see if there's anything you need from this group.
Prior to it?
Or maybe that could just be a Zoom meeting if you need it.
Okay, all right.
at the next CIC meeting, we could go over the top 10 goals that
We
we
could.
have already determined.
We could. All right, thank you, Doug.
How do you find out more about this Motion Junction? I drove by it yesterday and they said there's a donate or whatever. Is this just a website?
I
our
can,
town website.
yeah, I can give you all the details, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Bye, Doug.
So you would think like on the 21st, when our next regularly scheduled meeting is, before the strategic planning session, you'd like to
It's
focus
written
on
in
that,
ink on my calendar.
to be here?
Yeah.
Yeah. What does everybody else feel? Does anyone else have an opinion about the Tuesday meeting for
I
CIC?
think we skipped the next one.
I think that I don't know if you can, my screen went blank. I don't know if that's because of my computer or because of something there. But anyway, next, our agenda for September the 21st is affordable housing. I think that's an important topic. And I have some ideas also about affordable housing and how the town could, take a different approach with it. So maybe that would be a good thing. And those who can't make it, fine. But affordable housing
Tuesday.
deserves, it's a new project. We need some, we need to come together with different kinds of thoughts and whatever for it.
Gonna be talked about at the joint meeting as well.
What do you think,
One of the-
Oksana? Did you have an opinion?
I think we should hold a meeting.
What about you guys?
Hear me?
Hold the meeting.
Okay,
Yeah.
the majority wants to keep the meeting, so we'll keep it.
Make sure that there's a notice electronically or something.
I do try and remember, not always very far ahead, but it's always the same date and time, or
Was
not
there-
date.
Was there an ordinance meeting yesterday?
No, it was Labor Day. There was no
I know
meetings
there,
yesterday.
But my electronic calendar said there was a meeting. I said, oh, sure.
Your electronic calendar?
Yeah.
Well, I don't
So it
know
must
how to
have been
control
one that came
yours.
From you guys.
Well, it's a recurring meeting. So unless you delete a holiday, it's gonna still be there.
Okay, I was afraid that I missed one. but-
No,
Okay, good.
no. Some of that stuff shows up on mine too, because it's set for the first Monday of every month or the first and third Tuesday, like this one.
So if you want to talk about affordable housing at the next meeting, I can actually put together the step, an outline of the steps that I think we should take, and we could, it's a pretty extensive subject. You could look at.
With an
Okay.
elusive solution.
Exactly,
And that's,
exactly.
it's easy to identify the problem. It's-
Yeah.
The solution is the dilemma.
I'm fine with that.
We'll meet, just make sure, if you would, make sure. Please.
Would an electronic calendar invite help you, Tom? If I sent one for you to save on your calendar?
Yes, that,
Because I would send you two, one for the first, third Tuesdays, sorry, and one for the second Tuesdays of each month. I can't send one that'll do both. You'd have to accept two separate ones, but then they'd be on your
or an
calendar.
email. I'll write it on my calendar. But for some reason, when you send me an email, it automatically goes to whatever my thing is. And says there's meetings.
I can't control what it happens
But
on your
if
end.
One or the other, an email or a electronic thing.
All right.
Okay, so this comment is for you. The Canandaigua Parks and Recreation have partnered with Quail Summit. And Quail Summit is doing technology talks.
I saw that. I used to go to the library when they had some smart guy that told me how to turn on the goddamn thing.
I went to the downsizing talk. It was well done, so I'm going to go to the technology talk.
Okay, I did see that on some kind of email.
So
yeah.
there you
Yeah.
go. There's how to take care of
Uh,
this.
I will
calendar
send
problem.
out an email
That's
probably
fine.
today with, it'll have to be two though, Tom. Because our meetings are on two separate timelines during the month. We meet
Okay.
on the first Tuesdays and the third Tuesdays. So
Okay.
I'll set up two calendar invites for you guys. You can hit accept, and whatever your calendar program is, it should show up on your calendars, whether you use Outlook, you use iCal or Google, you should be able to save them.
So we know, no idea what the hell that is, but.
As long
It's
as
fine.
you hit the accept button.
I
It
know how to
should
hit
go
the
to
blue
your
thing or whatever. yeah.
digital version of your calendar. You'll have to do it for both of them. Otherwise, you might only show up on the third week.
The thing is, you know what happens if you do it twice?
Well, they're two separate events.
Then it comes back to you as it conflicts with another meeting. And so you hit it again, so then you have two meetings at the same time, but
No,
they're
you
the
can
same
just
meeting.
delete one.
Yeah,
It's not real
That-
intelligent.
that we can cope with.
Yeah, but yeah, it's two separate events because of the way, I don't know. If a calendar can figure out how to let me set up a reminder that happens two different times in 1 month, every month, I would be very happy because
Yeah,
that's an issue with the Zoom calendars. That's an issue with all the Outlook
Mhm.
and the iCal calendars and Google. None of them have that figured out yet. But anyway, I'll do that. And then so, Tom, was it you that asked about the new playground?
yes.
I'm gonna share my screen and show you guys where all that information can be found. For those of you who do Facebook, we
Nope.
have Facebook pages for all of the town parks, and we just recently created a new one for Motion Junction. It's called Motion Junction. So you can go to that and hit the like button, and then things we post to that should show up for you first. If you want to do it just by going to the website,
On the website.
you can always start with our own town website. And let me make this
Okay, that
bigger.
looks familiar.
And if you go to our government and you can find parks over here under departments,
Gotcha.
you can click on our town park directory.
Okay.
And it shows you all of our parks.
Yeah.
Clicking on an individual one will take you to that park. So since it's going to be part of the outhouse park system, you would go here.
Okay.
All right, so right now, he did say that, but it's not on here. I thought he meant they created the page. Well, it's yet to be created, but you can always click up here. This is our search bar. You can type in Motion Junction. He must have had another idea because I don't know. He might mean the website, but the nonprofit group that started this whole thing is called Inclusion in Motion. If you do a Google search for that, you can go to their website,
The Dream Big.
Dream Big Inclusion in Motion. You see how it pops up first? I would imagine it would pop up first for you guys. Also pops up is their Facebook page. And lately, Doug or myself, we've been taking their Facebook pages and sharing them on our new Motion Junction Facebook page because they've been sharing pictures from the build that happened and everything like that. But if you go to their website, you can learn about
Okay.
their story,
I see the.
If you had seen.
how it got
the people
started.
Working on it, you would be so proud of this town and so proud.
Yeah,
I mean, all these people had the same T-shirts on.
Yep.
They were all working. I mean, it was-
me and my
it was
kids
amazing.
went on Friday.
It was amazing.
It was pretty cool, but, so, oops, I can't see the side, but their website tells you the history of the whole project.
Okay,
Um,
good, thank you.
and then, of course, I know you don't really do Facebook, but that's where all the current, like, newsy stuff has been. We also put it in our newsletter last week. There were pictures from the build
Mhm.
and just kind of a recap of how the week went last week,
And
or
scheduled to open in 2022.
I think it's gonna be kind of dependent on when things happen, like right now, there's no, the flooring, the surface isn't
Yeah.
there
Yeah,
yet, so
I
the
noticed
playground's
that.
obviously not ready yet, but it'll just depend on how fast that stuff happens. I imagine that the playground itself will be available to the public before the building is built. It's gonna be impossible to keep people out of it anyway, so, and as we know, we'll share, like we'll share it on the website, we'll share it on the MailChimp, you know, the list, the group of emails that we send out. But I don't know exactly when that's gonna happen. I heard that sometime September, October is when they're gonna pour in the rubber surfacing. Obviously the parking lots are already there and
Yeah,
so
but it's not paved yet.
I don't think the sidewalks are finished, no.
Yeah, it's really an amazing project. And I mean, it's unique in this
Yeah.
part of the world. You know, there are little pieces of it in other areas, but you know, like 2 or 3 of the pieces of equipment, but nothing to this extent.
Yeah, it's really big. If you haven't
Really amazing.
been out there to drive by it, it's worth it. It's the scale of it is. Like, we've been looking at this picture for a while now, but to actually go out there and see how big this really is, it's pretty impressive.
What did Doug say?
Okay, this here is not happened
No.
yet, right?
No, it hasn't been constructed yet. That will probably not happen until at least 2022. It's possible it won't happen until 2023. There's not a timeline for that yet,
I
unfortunately.
think they're looking at a plan options.
Right,
So,
yeah, the actually what's gonna be built isn't
Yeah.
completely set in stone yet either, so.
Just because of the attention it's getting outside of.
Correct.
of our community.
Yeah, the way it's designed currently is concessions, bathrooms and a pavilion.
Mhm.
But there was talk of potentially adding an enclosed space like a community room. So, so I'm not sure how that'll work out, but the actual playground structures itself should be open to the public before all that happens. As long as they can get the surfaces completed and the sidewalks installed.
Cool.
So it's
Good.
pretty cool. It's really cool. All right, so we are still planning on having our next meeting on the 21st at 9. I'll send those 2 calendar invites for you guys so that you should be able just to keep it. I have one on my own calendar that reminds me, but and we'll talk about affordable housing. Obviously, we'll probably talk about the strategic planning session a little bit because it's going to be the next day, any last minute requests or information. And yeah, lots happening.
Mhm.
And then, yeah, I know the 20th, that's the town board meeting where they're talking about form-based code, so. Yeah, does anyone else have any questions? Joyce, Oksana?
No,
All right,
Oksana, it's Sal. What time do we have our
Hi.
meeting tomorrow morning?
11 o'clock.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
I'm gonna send out an email this morning,
Okay,
and it's with the Jim Fletcher and DOT.
right.
right. Oksana, do we need a Zoom for that as well?
I don't think so. Not for tomorrow.
Okay,
Okay, and we're gonna meet in the Oriana room, right?
I think that's where I put us. Yeah, I'll check.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, well, thanks, you guys.
Okay, thank you.
Until next time.
Do we need it?
Bye.
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 So long.